Hey everybody, Aaron Cowan with Sage Dynamics. This is part 2 of our ground pistol fighting video. In the first video we talked about the fall. We also talked about shooting from the traditional supine position and actually how to post, base, protect yourself, things of that nature. This video we're going to talk about the fetal position. Fetal position is a body's reflexive position. During a fall, if we're under attack, body wants to protect the vital organs in the face. So we curl up in the cliche fetal position, brings our shins up to protect our stomach and as much of our chest as possible, and we curl the arms up, forearms in front of the face, to protect our head from attacks. So we're going to talk about fighting out of that position or fighting from that position in this video. Okay, just a quick refresher from the first video, the fall. We want to bring our ass to our ankles as quickly as possible to, or as well as we're able to limit our travel distance. So basically it's just,
I'm down, I got one leg up to deliver strikes if necessary to keep them off me, and my arms protect my face.
Now, if I found myself in a situation where I'm just being overwhelmed, my body might reflexively curl into a fetal position, and I'll try to direct my protective elements towards my attack. Right now I'm carrying inside the waistband, so it's not a huge issue of the weapon being exposed, but it is possible. So my first concern needs to be protect from those initial kicks or strikes. My next concern immediately needs to be, is my weapon exposed? Because if it's exposed, there's a chance my attacker is immediately going to focus in on that and try to get my gun. So it becomes a weapon retention issue. So I'm up, I immediately get my gun. Now for drawing, since I landed on my support side, the draw is pretty straightforward. I can immediately get the weapon out, bring it into service. I can shoot from this position. The slide is clear of the body. I can angle the weapon up if necessary to hit in a more vital area on my threat. I'm using the SIRT pistol, so with this weapon it projects a laser with trigger press, so it allows me to practice this. It's definitely a good investment. From right here, I can immediately fire if necessary. Then I can simply rotate to my back and bring the weapon into play. Two-handed support grip aim. Now if I find myself in the fetal position with a outside the waistband holster, as you can see, I'm already exposed. It's subtle, depending on the condition they might not even notice it, but don't depend on them not to see it. My initial concern, obviously protecting from those initial strikes and then immediately protecting the gun, weapon retention issue, and it's basically the same function. I can shoot from here, slide clears the body, I can angle the weapon up, and then I can roll and bring the weapon into service, two-handed support grip, sight picture. One thing to think about is the compression of time. We talked about this a little bit in the first video, those safety issues where the weapon might not be forward of our appendages when we fire it. Like when I'm in the fetal position, I fire from here, my leg's forward of my gun. But I'm angling the gun up and away from my body. So the chances of me shooting myself are pretty minimal. When your life is at risk, do you think you should do a distance check on an appendage if you've trained and your functional mechanics have been practiced to the point where you've never shot yourself? That's just something to think about when it comes to practice. We don't want to get ourselves into that mindset where we take realistic but sometimes exaggerated safety precautions which in the real world can endanger us. So that's just something that you might want to consider to your own ability. Making sure the weapon is pressed forward to your body if you're not comfortable otherwise. But just keep in mind, once I clear the holster, I can shoot from here. All right, when carrying inside or outside the waistband hip carry, when I'm knocked to the ground and I fetal up, I may not get to decide which side of the body I land on or I go to when I fetal up based on the attack and if it's a reflexive response or not. It's entirely possible that I could end up laying on my gun, which complicates the draw. There's two methods to draw from the holster when you're laying on it, one of which I'm going to go over here, which is the straightforward and it's a very easy method, but it does have its disadvantages, which we'll talk about. The other method, if you want to check it out, you can go to sagedynamics.org and buy the Defensive Handgun Fundamentals DVD. It's covered in there. So I'm in my fetal position and I'm laying on my weapon. Now I can try to reach under me, which is the second method, or the first method, the best method, is to sacrifice a bit of my ability to protect myself in order to access my weapon. Now, I can come to full extension like I just did, or
I can roll up, still protecting as much of myself as I can, get the weapon into play, shoot from here. I can bring it over between the legs. I can lean up and get a better sight picture, or more likely my threat's going to be right on top of me. As soon as I lay back to the supine position, I can bring up my traditional leg defense and bring the gun into play.
All right, so the last position we're going to talk about is the appendix position. For those of you that know me, I'm not a huge appendix carry fan because it does have some drawbacks. It's not a bad position to carry from. It does have some significant advantages, concealment being a really good one. But when it comes to being down here, appendix does have a disadvantage. If I fetal up on appendix carry, can I get the weapon out? I can, but it's more complicated. If you notice from the last segment, we talked about laying on the gun. This is similar to that. I'm fetaled up right now. I can get access to the weapon. I can still protect my face, but am I going to be able to draw the weapon without coming out of the fetal position? Yes and no. Depends on your body type. If you're a little bit overweight, or if you just have, or if you're in really, really good shape and you have, pronounced pectoral definition, you might also have an issue drawing the weapon while staying in fetal. So the best way to practice it is you're going to sacrifice a little in protection, keep your support hand up to protect your face, access the weapon, and roll to your back. Again, I can shoot from here. Obviously, I wouldn't want to right now because my shirt's on the gun. Another thing to think about. So I draw it out, and then if I have to shoot from here, I can shoot from here, slide clears the body, and then I can press up into a two-handed grip and engage the threat that way. All right, so we took a look at some basic techniques for fighting from the fetal position. In the next video, we're going to talk about recovering from the ground in part 3 of ground pistol fighting. So definitely check that out. I'm Aaron Callis, Sage Dynamics, training for you.